Hi guys. I had a little bit more of an anxious week this week, so if you're seeing me and it looks like I have no eyelashes, that's because I picked them all off. Not literally, but they're all broken. So, did you guys hear that thunder? 2 weeks in a row, we've got thunder for the fucking show. What is that about? Is that a sign? Oh my god. See, look at that. Anxiety. What's wrong with me? Okay, so relax. What I want to talk to you guys about today kind of correlates with my anxiety filled week, and I didn't necessarily realize that until last night when it was at its all time high. And I was like, oh my God, I have to record this podcast in the morning. I'm going to talk to you guys about wellness, and I've been having like anxiety mad as fuck all week. I realize now, though, how much my brain was trying to calm me down through trying to put together this show for you guys. So it's kind of funny how it always seems to correlate. What I'm going to tell you guys today, talk to you guys about today, is not just surrounding anxiety. It can be... Oh my God, did you hear? What is with this? Why is there so much thunder? I'm terrified. Okay, anyways. The first thing I want to say before we really get into this is that when I get in these anxiety spells, I get really pissed off because I feel I've made so much progress to overcome my anxiety and to mitigate it as much as possible. And when I have these weeks or days or hour that I'm freaking out, I get upset because I feel like I should know how to manage it better and it shouldn't be happening and I don't want it to happen anymore. And, what am I still doing wrong in order to allow this to still happen in my life? Or especially like if I start to actually spiral or if I start to really ruminate on things, I get like angry at myself because I'm like, I know how to fix this or I know that I shouldn't be doing this. And I will say, like I said last night, I was having a hard time in a ruminating spiral and I was not able to sleep because of it. And I will say that I feel like I did do a good job of, catching myself and being aware of my rumination. And I think that is a really big factor in moving out of the anxiety. That's something I was never able to do before. So being able to recognize that progress, and I was able to say to myself, I have to allow myself to let this go. I give myself permission to let this go so I can fall asleep. My life has not changed at all since the rumination began. Nothing is actually different. It's just that you're thinking about something different now. And being able to kind of put my focus there, and I actually was able to fall asleep once I decided to tell myself that I had permission to let it go. So I will get so upset with myself, but being able to return to the progress that I have made has really allowed me to move forward. And this episode isn't just relative to anxiety. It can be relative to any, wellness progression that you're trying to make in your life. So today we are going to talk about the 5 things that I wish I knew when I started my wellness journey. The very first thing that I wish to God I knew when I started my wellness journey was that there was never going to be a magical finish line. I was so fixated on that. I was so convinced that one day I would never have these problems ever again. That one day I would just never be upset about anything, that I would just live in complete bliss. I genuinely thought that. Like, that sounds insane, but it sounds insane because I'm saying it out loud, but that's really what I thought in my head. Like, I had this picture of me like living in some little cottage in a meadow by a mountain with water running somewhere and birds, and everything's wonderful and peaceful and happy. Like, I genuinely had that image in my brain that one day I was just going to live a life that was going to be perfect and I was never going to have any issues ever again. And you know what's funny about that is when the pandemic happened, I remember being one of my major things that I was upset about mentally was not having anything to stress about. Like, I didn't have anything to worry about or care about. And that made me feel like I had nothing in my life. And not that I'm saying that I want things to be stressed about or I want things to be upset about, but it was that there was nothingness happening. And that's kind of that was my perception of what peace was having nothing at all. And that's not a life. And it kind of goes back to that corny saying of you can't have the good without the bad. But to think that one day I was going to cross this magical threshold and all would be well is asinine. It's always going to be a work in progress. It's a combination of the good days and the bad days that make up a good life. And again, corny, but like it is. It's an accumulation of days over time that you could potentially look back on and realize that there's hopefully more good days than bad days as you continue to progress. It's not going to be 100% good. It will still have the bad days, sprinkled in there. But when you can look back and recognize that most of the days you did well, you overall will be able to feel good. There won't be an aha moment of greatness that you realize, like, I did it, I'm here, I made it, I've crossed the finish line. There's going to be things that are aha, like little moments. Like you might hear something or something might click and you're gonna be like, oh my god, like that's how to fix it. Or like there's just these like tiny things that accumulate over time, but it's not one massive aha moment. And you can take those tiny aha moments that accumulate over time and continue to apply it to your knowledge and to your experience, but drop the expectation that one day you'll be 100% healed. And I've talked about this to you guys before, but being 100% healed is never going to be a thing, because things are going to keep popping up into your life that you're going to have to heal from. Whether it's things that hit wounds that you already have, like if you have trust issues or rejection issues, neglect issues, whatever your problem is, those things are likely to get touched throughout your life, or new things are bound to happen because that's just how life works. Bad things happen, and you have to be willing to accept that that's just the way that life is. And if you think that you're 100% healed, you're going to be let down. You're going to be disappointed every single time that shit happens, because you're going to feel like you have to start all over again. And you don't have to start all over again. It's just that you can use the knowledge that you already know and take that new thing in and work through that. And it's going to suck, but you'll be better at it each time that stuff happens, because you're going to have more knowledge and more experience and more acceptance within you. When you make the horrible mistake of like going way, 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 way back in your Instagram or on your Facebook, or you get those like memories from Snapchat or from Facebook, and you're just like, oh my God, like, and there, when you were younger, like, high school or college, and you thought at that time that you were hot shit, like, wholeheartedly that when you took that picture, or when you were with your friends, or just even at that time in your life, you thought that you were the fucking shit. And you look at it now and you're like, what is that little rat on my screen? That is disgusting. Or honestly, like I said, like Facebook, the old Facebook statuses that they come back, and you're like, what was I thinking? Why would I say something like that? It's the same exact thing with your mindset. It's just that there's not physical evidence to show us the progress that we've made. It's that one day in the middle of some psychotic break that you're having, you are like, oh my God, wait, but I used to maybe handle this so much differently. And you realize how far you've come. And it just happens randomly. Like, it'll just pop up that you remember something, or a way that you used to handle you remember a way that you used to handle something, and recognize how much differently you're handling it now. And you can see the progress that you've made, and you can see that you are actually making progress in your mindset. It's just that because we're in this constant state of, trying to figure it out, and when we do have our lows, it feels like we've never really left, but you are in a constant state of improving yourself. And it's just hard to see because there's no physical evidence of it. You might have to actively remind yourself to do the things that you're not very good at, or that you seem to do when you're heading towards a more toxic mindset. Like, for example, as a people pleaser, I do still obviously find myself caring what other people think. And I have to actively remind myself to not care, to not put people's opinions so high on a pedestal, or put so much weight on people's opinions. I always thought that I would just stop caring. I always thought that one day I would just not care anymore, that people could just say things and it would fucking bounce off my chest and I'd be great and I wouldn't give a fuck what anybody said, because I knew that it didn't define me. It didn't matter. But that's not reality. Although like I said, you can look back and I can see now that I'm much better at not internalizing what people think of as much because I continue to practice it. But I have to continue to practice it. I have to continue to remind myself in those hard moments to not care. This makes me think of me trying to live my life through my Pinterest inspiration board. I have, again, this like ideal vision for my life. And when I'm feeling like I'm not there, it irritates me. And I, again, think that I'll reach this like aha moment of wonderful magicalness of a lifestyle. And it irritates me that that never really happens and that my life doesn't look like a Pinterest inspiration board. While I think that it's good to have the inspiration, I think it's good, obviously, to have things to try to manifest in your life, things to try to work towards, having actual visuals of what you want your life to look like so that you can actively work towards creating that for yourself. You have to be careful to not be comparing your life to the inspiration board because then your actual real life starts to look dingy compared to pictures that were literally made to make life look wonderful. If you can shift your perspective to look at your real life through the lens of the Pinterest board, that is what I have found has really made a difference. And let me explain that a little bit further. So I was at Dairy Queen with my boyfriend and we were just sitting in the parking lot of some dingy strip mall eating our blizzards. And we were having a conversation. And so I turned in my seat. I was in the passenger seat. I turned and put my back against the dashboard and like my feet were up on the back of the seat so that we could look at each other and talk. And I had this moment of like, this is a cute little Pinterest moment. Like this is a cute little date or whatever. It's just like switching my perspective like that, like actually sitting and actually turning around to face him kind of clicked that in my mind. And when I thought of it like that, it made it feel more like a date. It made it feel more special than just like sitting here being angry that this is all we're doing tonight. We're just gonna eat ice cream and sit in a dingy parking lot. Like that sucks. Why are we so boring? Why do we not have a life? Like, yeah, if I fucking constantly focus on that and I constantly think that of my life, that's all I'm gonna see. But if I actually put intention towards spending my time there, and honestly, it's not even about like putting intention towards spending my time there and putting intention towards being on a date with him. Like it's just like thinking about how I'm thinking about it. Does that sound weird? Like I'm thinking about how I'm picturing this moment. And if I can look at it through the lens of a Pinterest inspo board and see it that way, it makes life so much better for me. Like I can look for things in places that are prettier. Like when I get flowers from the store and I put them in the cart and I have my little purse next to it, it just like, it looks cute. It looks like a Pinterest inspo board. Or honestly, just like doing things that are going to align with what makes the Pinterest board your inspiration. Like I like to shop at Trader Joe's instead of Walmart now. I just like the environment of it in there. I like the colors in there. Like it's just literally visually, like I enjoy what I'm seeing compared to what I used to be seeing, and I'm making my life more in line with this beauty that I'm trying to embody in my life. The same thing goes like just what you look like looking nice when I leave the house instead of leaving my house in giant clothes or my pajamas or no makeup on, like actually putting in that little bit of effort and making myself feel good and look good. That all correlates with the life that I one day would like to become my magical threshold dream life. You just have to start acting like it and it'll be a little bit more realistic for you compared to just sitting here and expecting that one day you want it to happen. Which leads me into my next thing that I wish that I knew when I started my wellness journey. You have to take action on things. It won't just fall into your lap. So much of the time, I expected, like I was just saying, life to just fall into my lap. Like one day I would have this wonderful life. And even though I knew that I had to do something in order to make that happen for myself. I don't know. I felt like it would just happen for me one day and I wouldn't need to put the amount of effort into it that I really do. And you know what else? I'm not referring to, a giant career or having tons of money. And like, yes, I am talking about those things and you do have to take tiny steps every day to get to that too. But I'm actually just talking about like your day to day life, making that look more in line with how you want to live it. Like I was saying, like going to Trader Joe's instead of Walmart and dressing nice and looking nice every day. Like doing tiny things that are going to get you closer to the life that you want to be living. And you actually have to put an effort towards it. Like you actually have to take action in order to make it happen when you might not really realize the things that you have to take action on. Let me elaborate. I was talking to my friend and she was like, when does a person have a routine? Like, when do you start having a morning routine and getting ready in the morning? I just figured that would happen once I was an adult, but I don't really do that. And I was like, I literally just had to start doing it. I wanted to do it. Like, I wanted to make sure that I was better about getting my day on the right track. And so I started incorporating a morning routine one day. And some days I would fall off, but then I would get back on it until eventually I created it as enough of a habit that I cannot wake up without doing it, or I cannot go to bed without doing that routine. And I think it's funny because that was totally my mindset. What she had said was totally the way that I used to think, was that one day I would just become an adult and I would do those things. Like I would become an adult and I would be organized or responsible or have a clean house or have a lot of money or have a good wardrobe. But you actually have to make those things happen. Like you have to put intention behind when you get a paycheck. Like making sure that you're buying some new clothes and getting rid of the ones that you don't like. You have to continuously make sure that your house is clean, having cleaning dates, or honestly, every time you take something out, put it away. That's one of my biggest fucking issues. Like I leave cabinet doors open. I'm basically like a frat boy. Like I literally like I'll leave cabinet doors open, I leave lights on, I leave cups everywhere. Like I'm not the dirtiest, but I also just leave shit out constantly. Like dishes, I'll put them in the sink. Is my dishwasher completely empty and ready for dirty dishes? Yes. Does my sink still get piled? Yes. Why? Like I have to put effort into having a clean home and then I will have that in my life. And it's like this weird thing that I think because I was raised by a person that had a clean home, I think that I will too. Like I think that automatically that just happens. And it doesn't. Like you have to actually put the intention behind making these things happen. There is a apartment underneath me that has been, the people are out of there and so they're redoing it and they left the door wide open and so naturally we walked inside to look around. Actually, I'll be totally honest, that terrified me. I'm very much a rule follower. My boyfriend isn't, and so he was like, no, let's go in, let's check it out. And I was like, that seems like we shouldn't do that, but he went in, so I was like, fuck it, I'm following him. So I went in there and it was fucking gross in there, guys. Like gross. Not because they were doing it. Like the walls were gross, the floors were fucking gross, the carpets were fucking gross, and people live like that. Like it was just such a wake up call to that my place is a lot nicer. And I'm not saying anything bad. Like who knows what those people's situation is. It's just that you have to put intention behind making your house nice. You have to put intention behind like these things that are going to make your life better. And they're not these huge things. They're simple things that you can do to create a more well life for yourself, a more healthy life for yourself. You have to make that conscious effort for every little thing. Like washing my face. I want to, I never washed my face ever. I didn't take my makeup off when I would get home for the night. I literally would just like go lay in bed. Didn't do those things. Like I have to make a conscious effort to make sure that I'm taking my makeup off, to make sure that I'm going and washing my face, to make sure that I am taking action on the things that are going to make my life easier, make my life feel better. And the thing with this is that it's not going to feel great at first. Like it's going to be annoying and, you're going to have to it's almost like pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Like you're gonna have to do things that don't feel right all the time. Like I don't want to do my dishes all the time, but I know that if I don't want my kitchen to look disgusting, because the thing is too is once it starts to get dirty, it continues to get dirtier because I don't care, how that happens. So if I just like put that little bit of an intention in, then I always have a house that I feel good about being inside, instead of just having the house once every few days when I decide to do a mass clean. As annoying as that is at first, the more you do it, the more normal it becomes, the more habitual it becomes. Like I was saying about washing my face, like there are definitely times even still like now. Okay, so now I used to never wash it, right? And I would just go to bed and I wouldn't give a fuck. And that would happen when I first started washing it. Like it, there would be like a day, maybe 2 days, 3 days that I wouldn't wash it. And then I'd be like, shit, I got to get back on it and I got to try again. Now I've made it so that if I go to bed and I don't wash my face at night, I'm thinking about it. Like I'm aware that my face is dirty and I didn't wash it. And I make sure to get up and wash it the first thing in the morning. But I still have those like falling outs, but it's far and few between. Like most my nights and mornings, I am just doing that automatically now because I've created that habit. So the more that you incorporate these things into your life, the more regular it will become and the less out of your comfort zone it's going to feel like. If anything, it's going to create uncomfortableness not doing it. It takes baby steps. I always thought that I had to have it all figured out right in that moment, that I had to have all the action steps planned out and being taken as soon as the thought or the new idea to improve my life popped into my head. I had to have it all problem solved and I was going to do it until the end of time, until I die. And that's not realistic. Like that's not going to happen. You're going to have days that you don't do things. It's just that you have to intentionally put effort into making them happen so that it's consistent enough and shows up enough in your life that you're creating a habit and it is in your life enough. The third thing I wish I knew when I started my wellness journey is how much taking care of myself physically plays a role into my mentality. The first time this ever registered for me was when I spent 75 days straight eating completely clean, drinking a gallon of water every day, and working out twice a day, one of those times being outside. This consistent maximum taking care of my physical self, I was mind blown by how clear my mind was. I have never experienced clarity in my mind like I had during that time. And it was like such a fucking obvious realization because it was like, no shit that if I give my body, my brain, the nutrients that it needs, no shit if I drink the water that my body needs, since it's made up of like, what is that statistic? It's made up of like 70-something% water. Your brain is made up of that much water. And I'm not giving it water ever. Like I'm just cruising around living my life peeing twice a day with like brown ass pee. Sorry, maybe that's TMI, but that's the truth. Like I did not drink water at all. I got my water from eating, like the food water that was in food. Like I have no idea how else I got it, but I did not drink water at all. And I did already work out, but taking the time to spend 45 minutes outside, like, and get vitamin D, that made a difference. And there were days that I didn't work out, or there were days that I would fall off from exercise, and like making the point to move my body every day, no matter what that looked like. It didn't have to be lifting weights all the time. And that was another issue that I had for a while. And that's a different topic, but like getting stuck in one specific way and thinking that I have to do everything one specific way, but it doesn't have to be like that. Like I could go for a walk. I could do yoga. I could just sit here and stretch in my chair for 5 minutes, just doing something to move your body. And putting intention into doing that made a huge difference in my mental. The other day, I was getting anxious. This week, I literally told you guys about that. Like, this is probably like Monday, like one of the first days that I was really feeling anxiety. And I was like, well, bitch, you haven't drank water in a while. Like, so I know in my head that like, that's the way that I have to operate now. And it's irritating that I don't still do that as much as I should. But at least having the awareness and at least knowing that I do have the tools in order to fix it. And it's something as simple as taking care of myself. It's like a car. Like if you don't change the oil, if you don't put gas in it, if you let the things explode, I don't know how cars work, but if you don't take care of it, you let the gears get rusty, it's not going to operate at all or effectively. Your body works the same exact way. You need to put the nutrients into it that it needs in order for it to function properly. And this isn't just like me preaching be healthy and go exercise and eat right. It's actually everything. I was listening to this is a woman that talks about being classy. Her name is Anna Bay. I really like her. I haven't listened to her in a while, but she's really good. But she talked about one of the things that she said a classy lady does is showers before she goes to bed, because the thought of getting into bed with somebody else without showering is disgusting. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, if we lick each other's body parts, like, you can sleep next to me if I haven't showered. I'm not that dirty. But my point is that when she said that, I tried it, right? I tried showering at night before I went to bed. And you guys, I was a dirty bitch, all right? I told you guys I would go to bed without taking my makeup off. I wouldn't wash my face. Yeah, I would go 3 days, 4's pushing it, without even body showering. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm fucking admitting this to you guys. It's disgusting. But I only would brush my teeth in the morning, not at night. I would brush my hair just when I woke up. That was it. I wouldn't do these things to physically take care of myself and then sit there and wonder why my mentality was so fucked up. And it wasn't even like I was doing that because I was severely depressed. It was just that's the way that I operated. And so once I started doing that thing that I would shower at night, I would brush my teeth in the shower. And I remember just sitting there thinking how good I felt and how nice it felt to be clean and to have brushed my teeth and to carry that through. And now I shower in the morning. I'm a morning showerer. It's part of my morning routine. But taking these intentional steps, I started flossing. That's another thing that I used to never ever do. Taking these intentional steps to physically take care of myself, brushing my hair before I go to bed, taking vitamins, just all of these things to actually take care of my physical self has made such a difference in the way that I care for myself mentally. And it goes back to what I was talking about for point 2 about taking action. It does take intention to start creating these habits and to start incorporating this into your life. But to do something so simple could make you feel so good. You don't realize how much of a difference it can make in your mentality. And you didn't even have to go to therapy. You didn't even have to do all of this inside soul searching and working with your inner child and shadow work and all this shit. It literally is just taking care of yourself physically can make such a fucking difference mentally. Now, it's not going to cure everything, obviously, but it will make you feel so much better that it will be easier to focus on clarity in your mind. It's so easy to get caught up in your day and not put intention behind things. When I'm working, I get way too caught up and I forget to eat. Actually, for example, I still haven't eaten today. Because I just get too stuck in the swing of things. I get too quote unquote busy and have things that I prioritize more getting done than actually eating. But taking the time to get up and make myself something to eat, again, takes intention. But once I do it, I feel good, and I feel good at the end of the day that I ate everything that I was supposed to, that I, made my body, that I nutricized, filled my body with the right nutrients throughout the day. It makes me feel like I accomplished something, and it makes me feel good, which, again, correlates to that mentality. Is that it's it makes you set a goal and you accomplish that goal and it makes you feel good. The fourth thing that I wish I knew when I started my wellness journey is that I might not understand all of the things that I was learning. I needed to be patient and I needed to trust the process, and I needed to have the ability to look at it from different angles. I would listen to self-improvement things, or I would read self-improvement books, and I would hear things and I would think I understood them. I did understand them on a literal, like, my brain works type of sense, but I was never able to continue to practice it long term. I would think that I was going to now incorporate this into my life and I would try to practice it, but it always would fade away. I was just like hearing it more surface level rather than having the patience to allow it to actually register and click inside of my brain. All of those cliche quotes, and not even cliche, but like the books that I would read, I was taking it so literally. And while you're supposed to do that, I suppose, I just like didn't pick and choose things from what I was learning that would actually apply to me and fit into my life. And I didn't realize that I might remember things from what I've learned once it did fit into my life. Like there's been so many situations that I've heard things over, like I've heard something over and over again, and I would think that I understood it because it would be simple. And then one day something would happen and I would be like, oh, that's what that means. And then I wasn't needing to put this crazy effort into practicing it into my day-to-day life for it to eventually fade out. It's just that I would fully, deeply, truly understand what it was saying suddenly, eventually, and it just would fit into my life. Like, for example, my whole life, I would be told, mostly probably by my mom, but would be told to slow down. Slow down. You think way too fast. You're doing things way too fast. You're going to screw up. And that's when I make the most of my mistakes, is because I'm moving too quickly. I'm thinking too quickly. I'm speaking too quickly. I'm taking action on things too quickly. I kind of live my life like that since my brain is so chaotic that I think I have to do everything right now. Like, I think that I get like too hyper. Like, for example, when I bought my car, I found the first car that I thought was good enough and I bought it. And like, looking back, that probably wasn't the best choice. And I love my little Henry car, but I probably could have kept looking and found a better option, but because I found something that worked enough, I was excited about it and I jumped on it as quickly as I could, and I don't take the time to like think things through all of the way. So from literally moving too quickly, like with my words and my actions, to just like the way that I think and I operate, being told to slow down has always been a reoccurring theme. And because that's such a literal thing, because I was like, slow down for sure, I got that, no worries, but would continue to not slow down. And then one day I was driving and I was always like a really aggressive driver. Like I would get like road rage and I would like swerve and I would speed and I would do all these things because, again, everything I'm doing is so quick. So I heard something that, again, is such a literal thing that clicked with me and then allowed me to click with the slow down. I heard you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. And while I'm driving like a fucking maniac, I was like, why am I trying to prove that I'm a good driver to the other drivers on the road? Like, nobody is looking at you. Nobody cares what you're doing. Like, I wasn't even trying to prove it to the other people in my car, because I would be alone in my car and I would still be like driving like that, like trying to be like fast and furious, like trying to prove that like I was like, I don't even know, like a spaz? Is that what I'm trying to prove? I have no fucking idea. But it started clicking. Like slowly as I'm sitting there, I was just like, oh my God, like everything in my life. I was like, I don't have to prove myself to people. Like, I'm trying to do everything so quickly because I'm trying to prove that I can get things done or prove that I'm good enough or prove whatever. And so I think that the faster I make that happen, the quicker I'll be able to prove myself. So I had to allow myself to have that realization in order to have my slow down realization. And now, even though I still will find myself doing things quickly, I have the awareness and I'm able to say, slow down. And I know what that means. And I can internalize it so much better and incorporate it into my life with ease instead of trying to force myself to understand something that I truly, really don't. Another one that really clicked for me was a speech given by Matthew McConaughey. he said to give yourself permission to not be perfect. And that clicked with me as a perfectionist. Because when I hear, don't be a perfectionist, don't be a perfectionist, don't be a perfectionist, like, you don't have to do everything perfect every single time. It's like, okay, I get that. I get it. You know, it's like you get it literally. But I needed those words to allow it to actually click for me, to allow it to actually be like, oh my God, give myself permission to not be perfect, that it's okay to not be perfect. And again, it sounds so simple, and it's not like there's any rhyme or reason why those specific words clicked for me. It's just that eventually, though, that I heard it. Eventually, I was like, oh, okay, I have to just allow myself to not be perfect. It's not just don't be, if that makes any sense. Things will click over time. There's so much shit that you don't realize that actually sticks in your subconscious. Like, if you're making a consistent effort to improve yourself, which I'm sure that you are if you're here listening to Wellish, then you will remember things that you have heard or read over time. It could just be a random fucking quote that you saw on Instagram, or it could be an entire book that you read. Even if you can't apply it at that specific moment, you'll be surprised by how much actually sticks in your brain, and you might not even realize what it's from or why you remember it. But one day something will happen to you that you'll be able to now apply that teaching into your life, and you're going to be like, that's what that means. I totally get that now. Or even if you go back and you see the same shit or you read the same shit, it might click more with you because you've experienced new things and gained new knowledge that you can now look at it from a different perspective, and it is now applicable to your life. And even if maybe it could have been before, now you understand how to apply it to those specific situations that you didn't know how to apply it to before. It's just as you continue to gain this knowledge and you continue to improve yourself, things will start to fall into place, and you have to allow yourself the time to make that happen. You have to be patient with yourself and trust the process. Trust that you will understand the things that are most important for you, and the things that were in the book or whatever you read that don't apply to you won't, and you won't remember those things. It's kind of like a fate thing. You just have to believe that the things that are going to stick with you are going to be for a reason, and the things that didn't weren't meant for you. They didn't apply to your life. Not every single thing in a book or every single thing in a speech or every single quote that you read is going to be for you, is going to relate to you in your life. But the things that are, trusting that they'll stick with you, and one day you'll get it and it'll make sense and you'll be able to apply it to your life. The fifth and last thing that I wish I knew when I started my wellness journey is that pounding straight up wellness into my head would actually have a negative effect. I would read all of the books and listen to all of the things in an attempt to make my life better, to improve myself, to make me feel good, to reach that magical threshold moment, to become this well-rounded, full potential, great version of myself. But I would find that as I was doing those things, it actually made me nitpick myself even more and find things that were wrong with me even more and not feel good enough even more. And I would get this like feeling of being trapped because I would still be experiencing the mental health issues, or I would still be experiencing like whatever issues I was having at that moment, and feel like I was talking about at the beginning of this. Like, I know how to fix this. I know how to fix it. Why can't I fix it? I know I have the tools. I've just read about this. I heard something about this, but here I am like an idiot, not able to freaking do anything for myself. And then it turns into that spiral. And it's just like being way too hard on myself, being way extreme in trying to figure everything out because this is the only thing that I'm focusing on. It's like the only books that I'm reading, the only things that I'm listening to. And so while it's cool to have that stuff in my life as much as it is so that I am aware of as much as I can be and I can improve myself, with that being the main intention in my life, when it's the main intention and I am struggling, it creates these negative effects more than good ones. I didn't have the mental strength that I needed in order to make the changes I was wanting to make, or the knowledge of the steps that I needed to take in order to change my life. And I would just drive myself insane because I felt like I knew what to do, but I didn't have the confidence to set boundaries. I didn't have the strength, or I wasn't ready to let go of things in my life or people in my life that I knew weren't meant for me or that didn't benefit me, or simply I just didn't have the emotional intelligence to carry out what I was actually learning. And this wasn't something that I could see when I was in those situations. Like, this is definitely a self-reflection. This is me being able to look back on my irritation and recognize that I didn't have those qualities that I thought maybe I did just because I read the book. Like, I thought just because I read the book or listened to the thing that meant that now I'm emotionally intelligent. Now I'm confident in setting boundaries. Now I'm completely ready to kick people out of my life that aren't doing the right thing for me, that are dragging me down. But that wasn't true. Just because I read it didn't mean that I was ready to make those steps consciously or subconsciously. And I couldn't see that. I didn't understand that. I thought that I was there. And so I would get so upset with myself because I couldn't actually take the action, instead of recognizing that I couldn't take the action because I wasn't actually there and I wasn't taking enough baby steps in order to get me to that point. I was just trying to take these major leaps and thinking that I was completely healed.